Neighborhood housing services, our subject today on the morning show from WRCO. It's been a while since we've talked about NHS of Richland County, and we have a studio. In fact, we have the board here today. Darlene Tagliapietra, who is the president, Craig Woodhouse, vice president, Barry Zegon is here, who's a board member, and Nancy Borth as well, secretary and also a resident of the Park Hotel apartment. So let's talk first of all to Craig. I think he drew the short straw to talk first here today.
I did. You're putting me, yeah. But no, that's fine. Let's, we've got a lot of things going on at NHS. I'm Craig Woodhouse, as Phil said, and I've been on the board since this summer. Relatively new, but there's a lot of exciting things going on at NHS. We want to talk about those things a little bit more today. Inform the public of some things that we've been doing for a long time. NHS has a strong history here. Done a lot of great projects over the years. We're going to do some more big projects coming up. We're very excited about that. That's
awesome. Why did you get on the board, Craig?
Oh, I drew the short straw. I'm a county supervisor, and there was a recommendation, to have some representation there. The board at NHS is made up of people from different backgrounds and industry sectors and things like that. I'm a workforce developer by trade. That's my day job. So workforce and housing, hand in hand, very much so hand in hand. And, that's one of the main focuses of NHS is to make sure that we have that available for the workforce. So, and I like to do stuff in the community. I really do. It's part of who I am. It's kind of how I was raised. I feel obligated, but in a good way. It's fun. We've got a fun group here. We're really doing some exciting things.
I think it's going to be pretty visible in the future, some of the things and projects you have in mind. Let's talk a little bit about an announcement was made earlier this week about a project with BMO Bank in Richland Center. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're really excited about this. We're working with the financiers and things like that. The project is moving forward. We have an accepted counteroffer. We've got work to do, to close that out and move forward. It will take some time still, so we just want the public to be aware that this is not going to open up next week. We're talking about increments of months here. So that's kind of how we envision things to unfold. We're being aggressive. We are. NHS is being aggressive about these things because we understand the need is dire for housing. It's a priority in the community, and it is with the local leaders and everybody here. So we're really excited about that project. Specifically, the BMO Bank, we're moving down that road. We absolutely are moving down that road. We need to be ourselves as a board, patient and persistent, and we ask that of the public as well, for patience and persistence. The persistence means that we're gonna keep moving forward. We're gonna keep looking at things, the patience is that these things take time to develop. We need to just stick with it and, get the details laid out. We'll be sharing more, absolutely, in the coming months ahead here. So I do want to just, make sure people are aware that we're talking about a long-term project here, and it's a big investment. And, there's more to come on that. But yes, we are absolutely pursuing development of the former BMO Bank in downtown Richland Center.
So again, if everything goes through, it's everything's signed on the dotted line and we can make the official announcement. Obviously, you have a vision for the future. You're probably not at liberty to say, but, you saw some real benefits of buying the building, right?
Absolutely. It's right downtown. We want to work, with all of the neighborhoods in the community. This building being right downtown, it's a great location. There are, it's an opportunity to really do something that has a big impact right downtown, and the community is attached to that building. There's a lot of fond memories of that building. We hear all the time about people sharing those stories of walking in there as a little kid with their depositing their pennies in their account, and we know that that's part of that history. Our intention and our goal is to maintain that history and then bring it into the future. So we don't need to forsake one for the other. We're going to rely on the history of the community, the way that we come together, and the way that we work hard to make things happen. And that is a strength of this organization and the other organizations in the community as well. So yeah, if I could, the idea here, I think people are probably anxious to hear what the concept is at least, and we are looking at a mix of some retail and some housing for that space, the BMO Bank. That's our plan, kind of a mixed use, facility, and there are challenges, as I said. So we are going to pursue this with again patience and persistence.
I deposited money in there, the gumball machine, when you walked in.
I bet you did.
That's where all my pennies went.
Instead of the account, they went to the gumball machine.
They went into the gumball machine, yeah, exactly. Well, that's exciting news.
It is.
I was downtown when you were bringing by a prospective new director.
Yeah.
You hadn't actually hired him yet. You have since the last time you guys were on.
Yeah. We have. We've hired Frederick Heater, and he's new to the area. He's has done work in other states related to housing and housing, populations in need, Washington State, in particular. But he's a Marine veteran, that has a wide variety of experience. Last lived in Mississippi, but he's here now, and he's not here today, unfortunately, because of the work that needs to be done. There are priorities that he needed to attend to this morning, so he's attending to those, and I think that speaks a lot for why we hired him. He understands what those priorities are, and he's working very, very hard, very hard. So that part of it is a great fit. We know how to work hard around here. Mr. Heater does as well, and he's had his nose to the grindstone, just really helping establish the foundation for where NHS is going, and so we're excited about that. He's got a lot of energy, and a lot of ideas, sometimes I think with things like this, we've known that housing has been an issue here for a while, and our goal was to bring in someone here with some experience in different places so they can share those ideas with us, and so that he can learn about the conditions here and the challenges, but also the opportunities. There are opportunities that he is seeing that maybe we were not aware of before. So he's asking a lot of questions. If you happen to meet him, he's definitely will engage in conversation and will definitely be willing to share ideas. And that is absolutely his strength. And, our job in working with that director is to, keep that long-term vision in mind so that we can continue to do good work for years to come. He's doing the legwork to make these things happen. NHS is in a unique position in the type of organization we are to do things like this. We're in a unique position because we're not a government entity, but we work very closely with local government. We have federal funding, so we're a quasi-government agency, and that gives us a little bit different position than a private developer might. Private developers are looking to. They need to make a profit if they're going to develop, anything. We need to, we're a nonprofit. We need to stay in business, but our motivations and our mission is to provide housing, at that moderate level, workforce housing. All in, that's our focus, and we've done that in the past here in this community, and we're going to keep that at the front of our minds as we move forward. So yes, we're very excited about this BMO project, and there's other things that you'll be learning about in the coming weeks and months, and I think you will see, the public will definitely see, more activity coming out of NHS than we have had in a while. There was a lot of challenges in the last, let's just say 5 years or so, with construction and things like that during the post-COVID years, if you will, where the focus turned more, NHS turned a little bit more towards some of the services that my partners here are going to talk about today that we provide for the public, foreclosure assistance and counseling and things like that. But so we focused more on that. Now we're moving forward into that development. So for us, those phases are years long. And they are largely driven by those macroeconomic conditions. And so we were in touch with those things. And, we're in touch with HUD. We're in touch with state agencies daily on resources that NHS may be able to bring and has brought into the community in the past that other agencies or private developers might not be able to. That's what we're really excited about.
Barry Zegon is here, board member, and Barry, it's got to be an exciting time. You're kind of looking at putting NHS back on the map, so to speak, again.
Back on the map. That's a good way to describe it. I think we've NHS of what was NHS of Richland Center, and it became NHS of Richland County, and now actually it's NHS of Southwest Wisconsin, because we've been expanding our territory to the point where now we have coverage in 7 counties, providing the kinds of services that we do. What's particularly interesting and exciting to me is getting back again into housing construction. We in the past, NHS in the past, in this area has constructed almost 60 new houses. And in the process of doing that really redeveloped a certain number of neighborhoods. In particular, the East Hazeltine neighborhood was one that really stands out. And then the Sextonville addition was another major area that we built houses in. We reached a point about, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago, where the cost of construction was not borne by the market. And our mission dictates that the housing that we build is entirely for moderate income families. And when housing costs, construction costs, and therefore price of houses was rising so rapidly, we found it almost impossible to continue doing that. But we were watching it closely in the intervening years, and we're back at a point now where it's feasible to do that activity. In fact, we're in the process right now on the east side of Richland Center of constructing a home that will be priced for moderate income people. And it's going well. We intend to be building more of those houses in the near future. So that's an area that we're back into, in addition to all of the other things that we've been involved in, like counseling, education. I think Darlene's going to talk a little bit more about foreclosure prevention, and certainly the park apartments have continued to be a major part of our enterprise.
You're a money guy, and right now the housing market is crazy for somebody, especially a first-time home buyer.
It is,
it's
yes.
Almost impossible.
It is, and I think one of the really valuable services that NHS provides is educational programs on basic things like budgeting and how to accumulate enough money for a home down payment and how to manage a budget once you are into your new home, so that you can continue making the payments and preserve that home value. And then, of course, foreclosure prevention is another part of that too, which the need arises, and we can help people with that.
Right. Not only getting a home, but keeping a home for
keeping a home,
long
exactly,
term,
yes.
Generational and things like that.
Yes. That's a good point. Generational preservation, where people who are, let's say, well into retirement and starting to talk to their family, their children, about things like assisted living and nursing home potentially, where we can start even giving counseling on reverse mortgages and looking at where they might be an appropriate measure for those people, or transferring homes to children.
That transitions well into Darlene, because we've kind of set the stage for her. Darlene, the NHS wears many hats. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
We kind of forget sometimes all of the things under the umbrella of NHS, I think.
I'm learning every day what NHS does offer. There's the perception of certain things that NHS does, but then there's the reality of all the really cool services that are inside our own community that you only might find in 5 or 6 places in the whole state. And we have them here. And the neat part I found out was some of these counseling services, we can go to your house if you can't make it. We can use Zoom with the development of Zoom. And we have some very educated workers at NHS to help you, a person who may not have that same reach into some of these types of services, where you can also learn about creating that generational wealth in your home, or in having to rehab a project you already have going on, or let's say you need down payment assistance and you know, you might be a local worker, but you're not extremely wealthy with a lot of money set aside, or maybe you're a veteran and you need some down payment assistance or a remodel on your house, or you've gotten older, or you need to have a ramp put on your house. Let's say your septic system goes. You know, what do? I say you call NHS.
Those are all big projects.
Yes, they are. And I really like the aspect of knowing and learning about the nuances of what is offered in that tiny little building on the corner. It's not so tiny, but you know, that building on the corner, what do they have in there? It's not just senior apartments. It's a lot of tools that all of us can use.
What about income requirements, you know, in terms of qualifying for some of the programs?
Well, I'm still looking into some of that, but it's not the same guidelines as you would go for it. I think it's in the similar for like a Medicaid or a Badger Care sort of income, maybe a little bit higher. It depends on how many people are in your household, what's unique is that usually it's on the income that's coming in and not necessarily your assets. So that's a little bit of a difference in some of the programs that you may be able to qualify for. It depends, because we have so many grants that come in, and each one has their own specifications. But when I'm talking about many, I'm not talking about 1 or 2 grants. We're funded by grants. We're also looking at diversifying our funding so that we can serve other populations too. We're up to a challenge. So if you have something that you're inquiring about or want to have done with your home or with your family members, just give us a call, and there might be, you know, a pot of you know, $5,000-$10,000 we're supposed to use, and if we don't use this money, it won't come back. So we are actively seeking and giving everyone a chance at helping us use the money so that we can reapply for it again.
That includes our Hispanic population as well, doesn't it?
It includes everyone.
Yeah.
We like to say that if you're breathing and you're part of our communities, come check us out. You know, it's everyone, not just certain populations.
There's got to be a little excitement. I kind of feel out of the room here today.
Oh, yeah, we're excited. I'm also here to put a little bit of a shameless plug in that we do need a few more board members. And if you think you might be a good fit, or it's something that you're interested in joining the mission of helping with some housing in the region, I can give you a phone number here. I'm going to probably have you write it down and share it on your website too, but it's 608-647-4949, 608-647-4949, and that is the main phone number for NHS. We have a very nice young lady who just started with us who is able to take your call and direct it to whomever you need to talk to. I just wanted to put it out that we are actively open for business every day. And if you get us off hours, just leave a message. We'll gladly get back to you. We also have a way of contacting us on our website, and that is, I'm trying to think of where it's at. If you type in NHS Southwest Wisconsin, will come up, and there's a contact information sheet. And we're excited just to be here with you and talk about all the really neat programs and possibilities. We like to talk about possibilities at NHS. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited to be part of this board and building houses.
It's a good time of year good time of year to be talking about it. The spring
yes,
of the year.
Exactly. Spring is in the air, and NHS is out there doing their thing, and we want to make sure you're ready for winter too. So winterization, things like that, we help with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And construction, and if somebody, let's say, maybe needs a ramp built to get into their home easily, all those things. Right?
Ramps, roofs, staying in your home for foreclosure prevention, helping. We're all about you not having to move if at all possible. If something happens, who do you call? Oh, some people would say Ghostbusters. I say, I'm a little bit of a humorist. So you call us, and we can see what we can do for you. And that's what it's about. We don't want people who've worked really hard their whole lives to have a bump in the road happen and them not be able to stay in their house.
And it seems that we're staying in our homes longer than we used to as well.
Exactly. Well, we're living longer. I like to say people love our communities here in Southwest Wisconsin. If you're a driftless person, you know what I mean. You want to stay here. We want you to stay here. And we want people to have a community and beautiful communities to belong to, and all of us together. That's what I'm really excited about. I recently took on the presidency of our board, and I'm just thankful that we have something so wonderful here in the Driftless.
You've also brought along a young lady over here to your left, and maybe you can tell us about it.
Yes. You want to share yourself, Nancy, to everyone?
Hi, Nancy. Nancy Borth. Good to have you in the morning show studios
Thank
today.
you. I moved to Richland Center almost 2 years ago from Eau Claire, so it was a little bit of a culture shock. I grew up in a small town in Spring Valley, but I've been living in Eau Claire for quite some time while I was working. And my son moved here for his job. And I was like, this 3-hour drive is crazy to visit each other. So I said, I had nothing keeping me in Eau Claire, so I moved down here too. Looking for a place to live 2 years ago was just as prices started to jack up so bad, and I didn't want to get into something that I was going to be house poor and not be able to do anything else. So I looked at several places and watched the housing prices just keep climbing, and so I moved into the Park Apartments. And the benefits of being, you're downtown, the affordability was there, and so I still have a little money left over at the end of the month, but it's been different, not knowing anybody. And so my son started with a job here with Jason Schultz and Beer Money Pulling. And then he took a job he moved on to the national tractor pulling scene. So he's gone, like weeks at a time. And I was like, well, now what am I going to do? Well, then I discovered that the board was looking for people, and I thought I could give a little bit different perspective as being a resident. And so I think we were onboarded in October last year. Yes. So We've been busy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But it's given you a chance to meet people, I'm guessing, get out in the
Correct.
community, right?
You're right. I'm still looking for things outside of that, I quilt, I sew, I do needlework. So I know there's people around. There's enough quilt shops to support. I mean, there's got to be enough people to support all the quilt shops that are close by. So, and I'm looking forward to getting to know more people.
Well, it's great to have you as a member of the community. Tell me about your apartments.
There's 21 or 23 apartments.
Okay.
They range from almost an efficiency, maybe a little bit bigger than an efficiency, to there's a couple of 2-bedroom apartments. The building is on the historic register, and it was purchased and rehabbed in the 80s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I have visions of returning it to its former glory. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I'm really passionate about historic homes and buildings. So the BMO building fascinates me, and I had to go into the Richland County Bank for some business for the board, and I'm just like a kid in a candy shop with all of the architecture and the marble and the history. So there's a lot here in downtown Richland Center, that of course the warehouse, and so yeah, I found a place.
And you're a secretary, so you help out a little bit from time to time, do you, with NHS?
I have helped a little bit, but primarily I'm doing board secretary. We oversee the finances. We're trying to make sure that all of our bylaws and policies, board bylaws and policies, are current with the current laws. A lot of them haven't been updated in a long time, and so we're working with our parent organization, NeighborWorks America, to stay with a certification level with them, so we get their support. We get grants. We get a lot of money from them too. So, it's just I'm backed. I was getting a little rusty on some of my computer skills, but they're coming back.
That's awesome.
I've retired twice, so
keeps you sharp then, I think, right?
Well, I try.
Well, it's really a pleasure to meet you today, Nancy. And
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the studio. We'll have more about NHS, learning a little bit more about what they have to offer. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the past, but looking ahead, a real bright future for NHS. And we'll talk more about that when the morning show continues. Neighborhood Housing Services of Southwest Wisconsin, our subject on the morning show today from WRCO. In the studio with us, Craig Woodhouse, Darlene Tagliapietra, Barry Zegon, and Nancy Borth. Barry, we were going to talk a little bit about the history. And when Nancy was talking, too, I was envisioning the way it was at the Park Hotel. But the Kennedy family even stayed there back in the day.
Yes. The history of NHS actually dates back to the John Kennedy administration, because that's when NeighborWorks America started. And it's interesting to think that his administration was a big catalyst to get this whole thing going nationwide. And during his 1960 campaign, he actually stayed at what was then a hotel and now is the Park Apartments. So it's an interesting kind of continuum there. As far as the NHS of what's now called Richland, Southwest Wisconsin, NHS of Southwest Wisconsin, we are now 42 years old. And I like to point out the fact that we were the first rural NHS in the United States. Until Richland Center came on the scene, every chapter was a major metropolitan area. Chicago, for example, but Likewise, I've been at meetings with representatives from the NHS of Anchorage, Alaska, and Honolulu, Hawaii. All over the country, there are needs for sustainable housing and improved housing stock. It was about in the early 80s, I'll say, 81, 82, that City Clerk Ray Lawton started exploring how we could get the services and a program like this of NHS. And he really was the pusher to get this going. And the actual start of the NHS was, I'll say, mid-1983. And that's about the time that the first big stellar project came on, which is, of course, the Park Apartments. And that's when I found out about NHS, and because of what was going on there, I became very excited about being involved in that kind of a community improvement project or activity. Mm-hmm. So that it's just built from there. And not only were we the first rural NHS, but not too long thereafter, NHS of then called Richland Center, or NHS now of Southwest Wisconsin, was used as the model for startup NHSs of rural areas throughout the United States. In fact, I've gone to NHS training meetings. One was in New Orleans a few years back, and then another one in San Antonio, where people sought me out to ask me questions about how do you face these issues in Richland Center, Southwest Wisconsin. We're brand new. There was one from the multi-county area of West Virginia who was kind of pumping me for information about how do you do this? How do you deal with this problem? Distance, for example, and geographic dispersal, spread out, and maybe lack of industry that the metropolitan areas would have. Mm-hmm. So that's been gratifying to be able to help other rural NHS chapters. Bit more history, and I won't dwell a long time on this, but as we develop past the Park Apartments, then getting into self-help housing projects where as many as 5, 6, maybe 7 houses were being built at the same time, where each one was being built by the family who would end up owning the house, but every family had to help every other family involved in this in order to be involved in the program, and nobody could move into their house until everybody's home was completed. So that too is a very interesting concept.
Mm-hmm. I remember that worked well. Also lost in Richland Center history, had it not been for NHS, or would not have been a Star Spangled Celebration.
Exactly right. That was a large fundraising event for us. And Terry Testlin and Larry Engels were very instrumental in getting that started, and it was a well-received, popular, enjoyable activity for many years.
Mm-hmm. And you sponsored many other events through the years too, I think.
We have the White Elephant auctions. Mm-hmm. Yep. A big part of us. I remember doing a fundraising dance and dinner at the White House a number of years back, and so those kinds of activities, booths at the fair. You're just getting the word out about what we do and getting people involved. Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why you're here this morning, too. And Craig, maybe you could talk a little bit about the vision statement for neighborhood housing services.
Sure. Yeah. Neighborhood housing services is our vision is to build sustainable partnerships that increase the social capital of the communities. So yes, it's about housing, but we all know that housing is a factor in those sustainable communities. So it's I think Barry just touched on a lot of those ways that NHS is our outcome, if you will, is housing and those housing services, but it takes the entire community to do that. And so, I actually first, became more familiar with NHS when the Big Top Chautauqua, was an incredible event, that we had here in the past. And so, I guess, we're looking at some kind of big events again. Again, a lot of details to figure out, and how do we do this now? What's different now than when it was done in the past? We have to take those into account. But we absolutely, are moving down that road, and that will, looking forward to engaging the community. Yes, we're, seeking board members, but we will have a lot of opportunities for volunteers as well. And even if someone may not want to, be the board member, we will have, event committees and, and outreach committees and things like that. And maybe, at some point here, we'll even be rolling up our sleeves and getting our hands dirty like we had in the past and, scraping paint or whatever. We're willing to do that. So, yeah, that can certainly fit in. I want to mention the mission too is that we are neighbors helping neighbors. I think that encompasses what we've just been talking about this morning. Is that kind of we're all in this together. We're committed to educating residents on affordable housing services and revitalizing our area communities. We're really trying to establish here, though some of those revitalization projects have been challenging in the last 5, 6, 7 years because of those economic conditions. Tides are changing a little bit right now, so we're just really excited about some things that were really challenging that have now opened up, and they have everything to do with the community engagement. We need the support we're asking for support from the community. We're committing to do everything we can, and stepping in where there's stepping into this challenge and and making a difference.
It's not just Richland County either. You want to get the word out that it's Southwest Wisconsin.
Yeah, we absolutely do. We're serving those 7 counties, and we absolutely, in order, would help us establish a little bit more into some of the surrounding counties, if, to have representation from those counties, on our committees or on our board. And so absolutely, you do not need to be a Richland County resident to be a board member of NHS.
Or a committee member, or to get involved. Of course, we want all communities to start considering taking NHS to that next level and have us find a spot in your home community somewhere. And that all comes from consumers driven to do business and try to utilize our different funding options and our different kind of programs that we have. And just so everyone knows, you do not have to be a Richland County resident to call in and see if we can help you with your project, because we do have the 7 counties at this point, and we're looking at making those partnerships a little tighter as we go forward. So I'm very pleased of all the wonderful things that are coming with getting our new executive director, Rick Heater. And if you have ideas or want to give any of us a call, please call the phone number for NHS and ask for Rick and see how maybe you can partner with us. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
When you're talking about partners, too, you're talking about maybe construction people and all kinds of things, aren't you?
Yes. It's all about staying local, and it's all about staying sustainable in our region and using our resources that we have. That's part of being a good neighbor, is utilizing what we have here and making those partnerships much stronger. And that's what we want to do is just have those state, local, county bonds, but also with our business partners and our other nonprofits, and just see what we can do together. With many hands, there's light work, and that's what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Future is bright, Nancy. I think it's an exciting time to be a part of the board, isn't it?
Oh, it is. We've had a lot of changes, and we've all got dreams of where we want to go. And one of the first things the staff told Rick when he came on was, we want 2 40-unit apartment buildings. And it's like, okay, where? And so
and it was a yes, but it was more like, where are we going to put this,
right?
And how are we going to do it? with if you can dream it, we can achieve it, and that's the attitude we try to bring in with us. And we're a fun group. We joke around and laugh and just it's supposed to be fun. If you're volunteering somewhere and it's not fun, something needs to change. And we have that dynamic in our group. We're wanting to bring in more people. Yes.
We hope people will come out and meet Rick Heater, because I've met him just the one time, and I get the impression that any idea you came to him with might not be as grandiose as you think, right, Craig?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Rick has a lot of ideas and is open about sharing those ideas. So yeah, he'll be getting out, a little bit more. As he goes on, he's highly focused right now on the business. The business of NHS. And doing that work. Internally here. But yeah, he's available, and at some point he will be in here, Phil, but we will have some opportunities to meet with Rick and meet others. We just need to be, we need to be that persistence and patience is really, I guess that's what the way that I'm pursuing this and handling it is that we're not going to slow down, but we need to, take careful steps. There's a lot of ideas out there. There's a lot of opinions, about which is good, which is really good, and we welcome, that dialogue absolutely. But we just are going to keep, reminding the public that these things are complex. They're long term. We have unique challenges, but we have such unique opportunities. We have great opportunities here. And it, one of the reasons that Mr. Heater is here is to help us unlock those, and just with a little bit of a different approach. Rick is very much an individual. He's, but we needed that. We needed to, kind of break the mold a little bit here to move forward. So
outside ideas and things like
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely, yeah. We need those ideas, and that's the fun part. That's the real. It's so fun to be able to look at potential properties or potential opportunities. That's the fun stuff. The hard work is the paperwork, developing the plans. Actual implementation, that's where the patience part comes in, and and we're going to keep doing those things. And if it's at all viable, we're going to be talking about it ourselves. So I'm looking forward to unlocking some more of these opportunities. Yes. And we have a perspective of from someone that's done work similar in other places, and they're bringing ideas here.
The board is here, so it's a great opportunity. The mics are open. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to add? Maybe something that I didn't ask this morning? Darlene? I think you were going to talk about foreclosure protection too, weren't you?
I was a little bit. I just want to put out there that this organization is for everyone, and that it's not. We want great neighborhoods, and great neighborhoods include all of us. And that's the neat part about an organization like this, is that we all have a chance to come to the table, and whether it's to receive services, help with services, or just be a good neighbor, give us a call. Mm-hmm. Give Rick a call, say howdy, take him out to lunch, get to know him. Maybe your idea is the one that will get a catalyst to us thinking about something else that needs to be brought into Richland Center.
Wonderful. Yep. Anybody else?
I'd just like to add one
idea
here. And this is, again, looking back at what we've done in the past. And I guess being the longest term board member, now I maybe have a longer term perspective. But one of the things that has been really gratifying to me over the years is the number of times when we have done a very good rehab project, where maybe I'm thinking about a couple of projects that we did over the last few years, where a house was not looking good and nobody living there, but we determined that it was structurally sound, and then immediately getting grant money in, and in some cases getting donations from companies like a heating and air conditioning company, perhaps providing the furnace and air conditioner, a roofing shingle supply company providing those for advertising. And then we would put together the crew. In many cases, the crew arrangement was designed to train people in construction trades, and ended up in those cases with really nice looking houses, and they were sold then on the market to qualifying families. That in and of itself has been very satisfying and gratifying. But the other part of this is, and it's been pointed out to me by other people, that when we've done projects like this, within about 2 to 3 years, you start noticing the whole neighborhood. People start doing new roofs, doing new windows, siding. Maybe if it's a rental property, sprucing up that property. And it's not just house by house, but it's whole neighborhoods that are improved.
Yeah.
And that's been really good, I think, for Richland Center.
Good point. Well, keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
And afterwards,
Thank you.
we're going to talk about the Phil Nee Museum. We're going to see if we can get that built.
The Phil Nee Museum. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Do you have an old phone booth somewhere or anything like that?
An old phone, probably. Okay. We've got 100-year-old gramophones laying around. We've got all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah. No, we'll work on that one.
Work on that one. Good to have you in here today. Neighborhood Housing Services of Southwest Wisconsin. Our studio guests, Craig Woodhouse, Darlene Tagliapietra, Barry Zegon, and Nancy Boren.